Hello and welcome to Popcorn and Joysticks, our JHT podcast where we talk about games, movies, TV, all the good stuff. My name is Theo. I'm today joined by James and Hollie.
Hello,
Hiya.
welcome. And if you're watching the video podcast, you can probably tell that we're doing something rather different right now for us, and that is we're doing this virtually. Well, me and Hollie are actually together.
Yeah.
We're in real life. But
Technology's
Theo,
not that good.
you're starting to feel a little bit better after the last episode, missing the last episode.
Yeah, I'm getting there. The last episode did perk me up a little bit, so it made me feel a bit better just watching it. Not 100% yet, but good enough to do a podcast, but I don't want to infect all of JHT.
So yes, we're keeping our distance. So we're doing this over a Zoom
But it's
meeting.
good to have you back.
Thank you. It's nice
Even
to
though it's
be
only
back.
virtually.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we couldn't really miss this one, could we? Because we've got a big old weekend.
Yeah.
This is a
Gaming.
big weekend.
Yeah.
This is not E3. I've quite enjoyed some people calling it Key 3 after Geoff Keighley.
Nice.
Which
I do
thought
like
was
a good pun.
Quite clever. Yeah, I love it. But of course, that's mainly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about Summer Games Fest and
Yes.
not all of the good stuff, because there was not a huge amount of good stuff. Maybe a little bit of spoilers for the rest of this podcast talk. But there was some good stuff.
There was some good, and there was some like things that doesn't particularly appeal to me, but probably appeals to other people. But I think that's the good thing about Summer Games Fest or this kind of time of year is we're going to see a whole bunch of games and a whole different bunch of genres and stuff. Some are going to appeal to some people. We've got like super small independent games which are made by one person. We've got like huge, AAA games and stuff, and pretty much everything in between. So it's quite nice to see a wide array of games. And we're not going to dive deeply into every single game that has been announced at Summer Games Fest, but we're going to kind of cherry pick our top sort of games or games what we think we can kind of
Games that caught our eye.
whether that's good or bad or whatever.
Yeah, and some stuff we can just comment on because we know there's going to be games in there that other people will really be into, even if we're not necessarily there. So I think let's dive straight into it. So Summer Games Fest that kicked off. That was Thursday night with Jeff.
Thursday night,
and they opened the show with Street Fighter 6, which we've seen already. We saw at the State of Play last week.
yeah, we did touch upon that obviously in the last podcast, or me and Hollie did. Because obviously State of Play was like the week before now. So some of the games have been duplicated, as in they were announced at State of Play, the June 2022 one. So yeah, what did you think of it? Because obviously we didn't speak to you about Street Fighter.
Well, I like Street Fighter in so much as I like a fighting game where I can I jump in. I don't learn combos. I don't learn special moves. I get in. I just
Mash X.
Tekken's my bag. Tekken's where I grew up playing like beat 'em ups. Street Fighter's always been like the second. For me, it's like Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. So, but I tell you what, I do really like about Street Fighter is I really like the characters and I really like the music.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite characters has always been Guile. So him being the showcase of this new reveal was really cool because he's just got ridiculous style with that like mad haircut, and his sonic booms. And I saw lots of sonic booms, and I heard lots of sonic booms, and that was just really cool. So yeah, it's
And
just
his
really
line
nice
about like it's all about the comb.
it's all about the comb. Like I didn't expect to see that. I don't know if I needed that in a fighting game, but actually, I'm quite on board with Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
I think
It kind of makes it a bit more sort of lighthearted and fun, and it's colourful. It's bright. Like some of the effects and it was almost like paint splodges and stuff which will appear on screen, like I guess to emphasize the fight moves. That kind of really stood out to me and made it like, this stylistically looks really, really cool.
Yeah, and I prefer stuff like those swooshes and like those sort of like lights and things like that. I prefer those things to blood and sweat and like gore in my fighting game, which is why
because obviously Mortal Kombat, when the camera like zooms into the body and you see like the popping of
you see the jaw shatter. It's like, oh god, and then they carry up, they get on for round 2. it's bizarrely slightly more believable to have like a big colourful swoosh come out of someone's like
them bones being broken.
Yeah.
And is it open world?
Well, I think it's got a bit of like exploration to it. Like it looks to me, because that first presentation that we saw at State of Play, it looks like they're kind of, you can run around, have a maybe like really light RPG elements. Like this isn't going to be like 100-hour Final Fantasy style like adventure. It's not going to be that.
No,
but it's putting the street back into Street Fighter. You know, we've always had the fight, and now we're getting some of the street. So
it's taken them 6 generations to get to the street.
Marketing team.
I mean, 6 generations in probably like 30 odd games, because it's also you always get like the different editions of it. Like there's like 10 different editions of Street Fighter 2. Which is still the best one, still the gold standard in my opinion. And I even got to play that in the arcade the other week, which I was really happy to do. So give us some more Street Fighter. Looking forward to seeing some more of that. That's next year, I think that's coming out, isn't it? I think
maybe. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
possibly. But soon, it's coming out soon.
Moving on from something that was, quite bright and exciting, I'm going to kind of group these next 4 in together because I feel like they might all be the same game.
I was going to say, is this when we're going to rename Summer Games Fest to Sci-Fi Horror Fest?
Yeah, Space Horror Fest.
Space Horror Fest.
Welcome to Space Horror Fest 2022, presented by Geoff Keighley. So we had 4 games here. We had Aliens Dark Descent, Callisto Protocol, Fort Solace, and Routine, and we'll quickly touch on each of them. So Aliens Dark Descent, that I like Alien, I like Aliens, I like that franchise. Xenomorphs are cool. This didn't grab me. I prefer the sort of the tense scariness of Alien Isolation versus this sort of all-out kind of. Because
there was a cinematic trailer, wasn't it, of them going through the ship and seeing the aliens and stuff, which looked really cool. But it's more of a strategy game, like a top-down strategy game, right?
It looked very similar to something like XCOM, where you're in that isometric viewpoint.
That's the one.
And you're going to have waves of enemies.
Yeah, which to me makes it less scary. I guess it's going to be frantic because obviously you're going to have waves of enemies and stuff. But because of that camera angle and the styling, it didn't match the trailer. Like the trailer was very cinematic and gritty and that real life. And then it's like, oh, here's the gameplay. Whoop, the camera like zooms out, which to me almost makes it slightly more appealing in a way, because it's not
scary,
super scary and super brutal, and like the other 3 looked flipping terrifying. Where this looked like more playable for me.
Yeah, they didn't show much of it. I missed it. We had to go back and watch. I think I was eating pizza at the time, and I'd completely missed that gameplay bit. So I think they should have shown a little bit more.
I would have liked,
because I totally missed it.
The scariest thing from that Alien trailer is, and I don't know whether you could do this in the game, if you could abandon your teammates, sacrifice them, as we saw in the actual cinematic section, where it's like closing the door and buggering off.
Savage.
It's like, that person's very sensible, like I don't know. I'd probably be the worst teammate.
Basically, don't be the slowest runner around.
Yeah, definitely.
Just run faster than the last person.
But also, I think it kind of reminded me a bit of The Ascent, which I played earlier this year for review. And that game is gorgeous. The Ascent is a really, really stunning game. And Alien Dark Descent doesn't match it. It's not on the same bar. And I'm thinking, The Ascent is effectively a small indie title where they've put in so much work and detail in the world. And this kind of looked a bit generic and bland by comparison. So you'd think that with Alien money, you know, they'd be able to actually give it a bit more. Yeah, exactly. Step it up.
I think
that's
the thing. That game did kind of pass us by a little bit. Like you said, you didn't even really remember seeing it. We have to go back and rewatch it.
I don't know what I was doing.
The others on the list of the sci-fi horror games,
so the next one was Callisto Protocol.
Yeah, we've seen quite a bit of this one now.
We saw that at State of Play.
It's still a big fat no. I'm not playing it.
It looks absolutely incredible.
It does.
Graphically and just everything that goes along with that type of game. It looks
And
awesome.
This, I'd say, is the downfall of having better graphics. Like, I don't think I want to see it.
That real.
I don't want it that real.
I mean,
so it made me laugh when I watched the previous episode of our podcast with just the two of you, where you suggested that I might be the one who wants to play.
Well,
this.
you like to torture yourself with your games, Theo. So I thought this one might be on the list.
Yeah, we've nominated Theo as tribute to play that game.
Thank you,
me
Theo.
and Hollie are going to watch Theo play it behind pillows. So
there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of years about rising game prices. You know, now £70 is kind of like the standard price for games.
Yeah.
You need to also factor in the £70 for the game, but also the months of therapy that you would need following
put an extra couple of zeros on the end of it to get over it.
Maybe this would actually be a good game for all three of us to play, because all three of us are too scared to play it.
That would be hilarious.
Maybe it's actually the one we should play together.
A bit of moral support to like, get through it.
We won't even get past like the first door.
Past
We're
the
like,
controller.
you go first.
Nope.
So it's coming from the original Dead Space team, right?
Yeah.
So it's not EA. It is a different team that worked on Dead Space, and it's quite interesting that Dead Space is getting a remake, or the original Dead Space is getting a remake that's coming out at the start of next year. Callisto Protocol is coming later this year, complete with all of its gory deaths, including getting caught in that massive like grinder fan thing.
That literally, my jaw literally dropped.
Yeah, and then I was actually out the room at the time.
Getting pizza at this point.
Getting pizza. And you went back and made me watch it. I was like, why did you do that? I was fine not seeing that.
It was the like the developer was on stage with Keith saying like, oh, we really worked on like the death sequences and stuff. And I was thinking,
oh man,
if basically the person who's created Dead Space, who's now created this game, has spent a while creating visual death sequences, it's going to be
They must have some crazy
brutal.
dreams. If that's your job, just to work on that for years of making this character die in horrible ways, like
the way he basically got taken into a fan, like a food blender, slowly. It wasn't like he just went and got sucked into a fan. It was It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah, I think as well. It looked really organic, if you know what I mean. Like it didn't look like you've triggered a cutscene. You know, it looked like he was backing up against that foe.
And got caught
and genuinely got sucked into it. So it's like you really actually have to be quite aware of your surroundings. And I quite like that. I think that's really cool.
Super suspenseful, super horror, and it's got those like when you like sidestepping between tiny
it's
bits of
very claustrophobic
like corridors, and then you've got like the hanging bodies and like the eyes, like but then you've got
that just like
the frantic bits of like I don't know what they're called, like the alien species, when you like shoot the legs off and they're still crawling across the floor, but like the weapons, they had weight to them. When you shot it, you're almost like missing frames. It's almost like it disorientates you. So you feel like you've actually shot that weapon, and then it's like that slow reload as they're getting closer and closer. You're almost like a bit of a brute sort of character, so you're slightly slower. You're not super like nimble, quick, and can take them out. It had that like the slow aspect to it, so it made it more scary because of that ominous like slow presence of them.
It's just very stressful. Even it was just stressful watching it.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome, but I don't know if I could bring myself to play it. Maybe in broad daylight, middle of the day, like lights on.
with Hollie and me there as well, and we can pass the pad when it all gets a bit too much.
Oh man.
But yeah, so I mean, like we said, this almost could have been like a whole like space section, really. Space horror section. So we also saw Fort Solis, which we didn't give away too much, but effectively I think the main premise of this and what they kind of pushed at the show was the interactions between Troy Baker and Roger Clark. So we're talking Joel from The Last of Us versus Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2 in space. It's like, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're an indie developer, aren't they? Like, they're like a new developer, and they've managed to like pull this off, which did look quite incredible. It's quite a feat, to be honest, to be able to do that.
Oh, definitely. The pedigree is there in terms of the voice cast. So I think the performances, if nothing else, the performances are going to be worth watching. We've not seen enough to basically say whether this is going to be something that kind of excites us or intrigues us or anything. And that's kind of the same for Routine as well, which is the last of the 4 like space horror games. this was first announced 10 years ago.
Yeah,
that.
Now we get a 30-second teaser.
Yeah.
I have to say that out of the 4 that we've seen, Callisto Protocol is probably the scariest one. This is probably the creepiest one because I think it was being grabbed by that robot, which, like when dolphins do that weird
and the glitching hand and
having an android grab you and do like a dolphin laugh.
But it was
that was so atmospheric.
It was the face of the robot was kind of doll-like as well.
It was like, oh my god,
with the big sort of mouth that opened and.
I'd like to see more of that one. I don't think I'll play it, but I'd like to see more of that one.
It had a really cool aesthetic to it. It had the weapon thing, what I assume was a weapon they were using, felt like a cassette tape, cassette player.
Yeah, and it's got that kind of 1980s style of
I
sci-fi.
think that's kind of what made it kind of appealing in a way, was that kind of mechanism of almost like a cassette tape going in and
the style of that one appealed the most to me.
And the screen, that 4x3 kind of glitchy screen just made it was this is cool. They're not going super sci-fi futuristic weapons. They're going sci-fi, but the 70s, 80s vibe of retro sci-fi, which I quite liked. Almost like Star Warsy in a way, it's future, but it's got that 70s, 80s filmmaking vibe aesthetic around it.
Yeah, it's like how Star Wars has wired headsets. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of built on the technology that was available at the time, but kind of what they imagined. No one thought, oh, this could be wireless, No one thought that you could get away from a tape deck for a weapon. It had to be it's built.
And even
on
the way the holograms were built back then, in the early Star Wars days, we're still seeing that now because it's got to fit into that world. So we're seeing these real simplistic, almost 2D elements spinning around, which we could do, with current technology, we could do way more than that. But in a way, it gives it that authentic look to it. And I feel like that's what this game sort of did. It had that kind of, obviously we grew up with cassette tapes and, cassette players and that kind of mechanism of VCR players and stuff. And you see things go in and
it's much more
the mechanics with it.
Yes.
So that kind of was appealing, but again, super sketchy looking and don't really know what you're doing.
It was the point when you just walked into the light and the light just made me. I was like, oh no, it's gonna be one of them games. I'm scared of the light.
So we're going to go from routine to something which is unfortunately very routine, and we're now going to talk about Call of Duty. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which is trying to make a splash with its new water features. And my question
talking of water, I was actually
is,
taking a sip of water when you said that. How fitting.
My question to you is, does anyone care at this point?
I did ask James this and he cares. I did say is this, I don't even understand the numbering anymore. Why are we back on 2?
Yeah, I was saying, we've had Modern Warfare 2, but no one said about a remaster, remake, or anything. It's just Modern Warfare 2. And I was thinking, well, I've played that game. Is this a remaster? Because no one's saying it's a remaster, or not on the showcase.
No, so it's a continuation of Infinity Ward's reboot of Modern Warfare. So basically, we had Modern Warfare 2019, which came out in 2019. And so this is a continuation of that story, but they are bringing in some legacy characters from the original Modern Warfare trilogy that we saw back on PS3 and 360.
Because that gameplay they showed on board ship, we've already played that game, that level.
I think this is my sort of my jibe at the top of this bit, really, is that Call of Duty to me, they came out, the execs, the developers came out and said, we're pushing this new technology where the waves move and it affects your cover that's available.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I guarantee you that if the majority of people playing Call of Duty are not bothered, you will run through in the same way that you've always run through. Because basically the rest of that gameplay trailer that they showed off, that could be any Call of Duty from the last like 10
I
15
did
years.
switch off a little bit watching that. Yeah, the boat movement was cool, and like the whatever things were moving around the boat was cool.
The containers, like as the ship moved, the containers would slide, so your cover is gone. But yeah, like you said, I feel like people who play that game, it is more fast paced, so you're not stood behind cover for very long.
If you're a Call of Duty fan, I'm sure you'll be pleased another one's coming out.
To be honest, it was one of the games where I was like, yeah, I'd play that. Like it looked cool, and graphically, again, like obviously graphics now are getting so good. Like it looked good, it looked immersive, and having the natural world, you know, of the waves and the things moving around, to me did make it quite appealing. Obviously, that's going to be like the story mode aspect of it.
Call of Duty has a story.
Yes, that's campaign mode. No, I to be honest, I did quite like the look of that game.
Okay, that's cool. That's
James
good. I mean, that's why we asked these questions, because I watched it and went,
nah.
You know, like you said, I've played this before.
But I should probably point out that I haven't played a Call of Duty in a long time. Probably since Modern Warfare 2.
I think it was Modern Warfare 3 that you spent a lot of your time on.
Modern Warfare 3.
I remember
2
those
and
days.
3.
It was 3.
Well, it's like
mostly.
the Xbox 360 days.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's kind of when I started on YouTube and stuff, was creating spoof and parody videos of Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got a bit of nostalgia based around those games and those characters and what you did in those games. So I played them a lot, and I created my own videos, which are on YouTube, of us parodying that specific game of Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
You know.
Or maybe you could do a parody of Modern Warfare 2 in 2020.
Well, I was thinking that maybe that's going to take the views back up on those videos, because people will be searching that game now, and because it's, you know, they were quite a well viewed video back, you know, 10 years ago now.
You got to go get on a boat and remake the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it in a parody way. I'll film it in the bath or something.
Okay, so moving on from one shooter that we kind of is a known entity. Guarantee you that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 will be the highest selling game this year, as it always is. It's always at the very, very top. So moving on from one shooter that we know quite a bit about to another one, which I think was announced for the first time at the show, which is Witchfire. Sorry, it's not been announced at the show, but it's had its first like proper showing.
Yes.
So Witchfire is from a Polish studio called The Astronauts, and it is a roguelite shooter, but it has a very like fantasy kind of setting.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, okay, these guns look like they're packing a bit of a punch and they've got something a bit different. The thing that sold me on this was a grenade that summons a gigantic bell. I don't know if you remember seeing this.
I did see this, and I was like, why is there a bell?
But the bell can then be rung with your shots and like stuns enemies underneath it. And I thought that was really clever and something that I haven't seen before. No. And I just like the look of it. I think in terms of like the enemy design's really good. Like they're kind of like demonic, sort of lots of pentagrams being thrown around.
Yeah, as I say, it's that kind of really medieval look to it, with the sort of magic and FPV type stuff, FPS.
Yeah, I think this was one of the more appealing games to me, mainly because of the magic.
Cool, yeah.
And
it had that like
if you add magic to it, I'm usually like, oh, tell me more. So yeah, even though this is first person, right? Yeah, I'm not normally a first person fan, but this one I think I'd probably consider. I think this is probably one of the more interesting ones for me, actually.
Here we go. We've let all the developers in on the secret there. If we want Hollie to play a game, just add magic.
Sprinkle of magic.
Add magic and you've got my interest, yeah.
So moving on from a roguelike shooter, we're now moving on to a post-apocalyptic strategy game. Now, this is one that really kind of like piqued my interest, and it's called High Water. It's got that really sort of like, I think it was set to sort of like the world ended on a sunny day.
Yeah.
A very bright post-apocalypse. You know, which I thought was quite cool and something that we don't see very often, but really bright, vibrant colors. The art style was kind of cell shady without it being like traced, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like without the big outlines. And it just looks like there's lots of different factions that you can kind of interact with, and you're scooting around in a little boat with your crew. And I thought that just sounded
really nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they didn't show off a lot of it, I just thought it looked cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah.
And hopefully it won't be too long until we see more. But did you two enjoy that trailer? Did you think it looked cool, or
it caught my attention? I think because it was so different from everything else we had just seen.
Yeah.
And it was definitely the world ends on a sunny day. I was like, okay, this is different. So yeah, I'd definitely like to see more of that one.
Yeah, I like when people take a new look at, I don't know, a genre that's been done many, many times before. And it did stand out because it had that colourful sort of cartoon aspect to it. But it was, it just made it, like we kind of went away from it thinking, I want to see more. And that's what trailers are meant to do. They're meant to leave you going, now I've piqued my interest. Now I want to go and find out who's done that, or find out when they're releasing it, or when the next trailer is going to be out, or gameplay is going to be out. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of a showcase like this, is to give you those little tidbits to get
to your
excited.
Wish list.
Yeah,
give you the breadcrumbs.
Yes,
lead you towards the game.
Yeah.
So the art style for High Water is also very similar to the next game that we're going to be talking about, which is American Arcadia.
Yes.
Which is made by the people who developed Call of the Sea, which, if you haven't played it, is a really wonderful first-person puzzle game. And funny enough, American Arcadia is actually teased in that game. There's no like with a trailer in the game, basically, because there's a puzzle towards the end of the game where you're looking at the stars and then you're solving like star map puzzles.
Oh, cool.
And there's nothing there that tells you how to do it, but if you get the right combination of stars on this map, it kind of produces a portal into the world of American Arcadia, and you see the trailer. And this is like years ago. It was just a really cool way of and it doesn't make any sense in that story. It's just like, I'm looking into a portal into a different world sort of thing. Just a really nice little tease. That tease is now coming to fruition as we're starting to see more and more stuff of American Arcadia. It's kind of like The Prisoner meets The Truman Show.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to actually playing this game, because I think the narrative behind it of like your popularity in this TV show has dipped so much that you now need to escape, or be killed. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to playing that game and getting into that world.
Yeah, I think for me, it kind of, when I first saw it, I was like it looked kind of cool, but I wasn't particularly blown away by it. But then
I think we saw a bit more of it.
Yeah, we
somewhere.
saw a bit more. I think they did another kind of showcase bit or something of it, and we saw more of the gameplay and you switching between the two characters. And I was like, oh, okay, now we're seeing, I can kind of see what it's like.
Interesting, because I haven't seen that, and I was wondering whether we play as, what is the champ's name? Whether we play as
not Truman.
Trevor. Yeah,
Trevor,
as we play. As we play, I think it's Trevor Hills. Whether we play as him or whether we play as the woman who is kind of overseeing. So is that something that's happening?
Yeah, so the bit which we watched, which was actually last night, I can't remember how we stumbled across it.
I don't know.
The Tribeca show.
Yes, the Tribeca game show.
Yeah. So they had more of it there, and it basically went from him, running away, running, say, along rooftops or something, and then he'd jump on a crane, and then it seemed to switch to her perspective, and she'd be in the control tower, control center, in a first person view, controlling the crane to get him across to another building. And then it would go back to him and then back to her, and she'd have to upload a looping video to CCTV footage and then back to him. So it seemed like there was a lot of back and forth between. I don't know how much that will be how quick that will be in the actual game. If it's going to be 10-30 seconds of him and back over to her, or if it's going to be more of a whole level for him, then you're going to do a level for her or something.
But seeing that made it much more appealing.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool now, because you're playing these two separate roles in very different kind of perspectives, that he's kind of running and being chased, where she's almost in the control room,
strategy,
controlling cameras and controlling bits and bobs, trying to be a bit more strategy and probably timing of things. So that kind of stood out to me and made it really, really cool.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing that one.
Yeah.
And Goat Simulator 3 has been announced. We didn't have a Goat Simulator 2. I honestly,
Did we not?
honestly thought this was the return of Dead Island 2. But yeah, they played this trailer very, very well. I'm not a big fan of Goat Simulator 1 or 2, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who are really pleased to see this Goat Sim returning.
It does look hilarious.
It was a really funny trailer, actually.
Yeah.
I did download Goat Simulator because it's on Game Pass. I don't really get it.
I've played it on PS Plus and it just isn't for me.
It has the potential.
So janky.
Yeah, it has the potential, but it's almost like one of those uncanny valley things. Like it's just right down there, and it's just not for me.
No, I'm really pleased for everyone who's excited about Goat Simulator to get more Goat Simulator. I'm also really sad for anyone who thought this was Dead Island 2. And, because that game, I don't think we're ever going to see that game again. I think we'll just get that trailer of the running man and that'll be it.
Yeah.
That'll be its legacy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on from Goats, we're now moving over to Marvel. So we had Marvel Midnight Suns getting a new outing. We saw Venom being taken over by demonic forces, and then we also saw the Hulk becoming a massive demon. So have you two got any interest in this? This Marvel XCOM? Nope, straight away. It's no.
I'm just not really into DC, Marvel, and I'm just not really into the superhero thing.
No.
I think the last thing I was really into was X-Men, like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So we have got some X-Men in this.
That's not enough.
Wolverine is there.
It's not enough.
I mean, it just feels like every week there's a new Marvel series, a new Marvel film, a new Marvel game.
And I think once you've missed the boat, it's gone. You can't go back because there's so many now. And I think it's just one of those that Marvel is probably just going to pass me by for a long time.
And I'm completely happy about that. As in, there's so much
other stuff.
There's so much other stuff to see and watch and play. That it's amazing that there's so much stuff for people to dive into. Like yourself, you're into your Marvel, you're into your superhero stuff. But for us, we're not particularly into it. But it's great that there is so much stuff. You can kind of get your teeth stuck into.
So why don't you tell us about your excitement? If you are excited, is this good for you?
I like seeing the characters, and I like seeing them in this new sort of mystical situation. Like there's a lot of magic in this, Hollie. It might be for you, but it's a new unusual like situation for them to be in. I haven't seen enough of the gameplay for me to be really excited for. XCOM is fantastic. Fireaxe is the team behind XCOM are making this, so we'll see. Like we haven't got too long to wait. It's coming out in October, so it might be a really big game this year for people who are mad into their Marvel and also really enjoy their sort of like strategy action games. So it's really nice to see that. But one game I'm definitely excited to play, and I really don't have too long to wait because this is coming out in like 2-3 weeks. Is it's not a full game, but it's Cuphead, the delicious last course. So we're finally getting some more Cuphead. We've waited such a long time for this. So yeah, they showed off one new trailer for Cuphead, the delicious last course, or DLC. Just looks really good. Like it's exactly what we expect.
It just looks so frantic.
It gave me a headache just watching it.
There is so much going on screen. I was just like, wow. I mean, it's just luck. It's just luck to get through that.
No, it's purely skill. They've described it as being the biggest island that they've ever created. And yesterday we also got pricing for it. So in the UK, it's going to be like £6.50, which is like, okay, that is amazing.
Ridiculously cheap, yeah.
Yeah. So
is it an add-on? It is a DLC for the game. It's not. But you said it's the biggest island they've done. Is it bigger than the original game?
So I don't know if it's going to be bigger than the original game, like as a whole, because the original game is made up of 3 different islands and then plus like some extra side stuff.
Right.
So it's quite likely that it's going to be kind of, I guess, maybe like the size of 1.5 or like 2 islands put together, sort of thing.
There's enough to get your teeth stuck into this as well.
Get stressed over.
Get very stressed and rage quit and throw controllers and break them.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, maybe the cost is so low because they'll be making up money on like the cost of controllers. So so really looking forward to playing that.
I mean, we should probably point out as well that in a previous podcast, we actually did speak about that we played Cuphead. And we were going to basically play the whole game of Cuphead, me and Theo, in co-op. But for some horrible reason, the Elgato screen capture decided to break.
Technical failure.
And completely glitched the whole of the recording.
So maybe you can play the DLC now.
Maybe we could play the DLC together, but we did play like an hour of it, and it was pretty hilarious because I'd never played it before. And I had no idea what was going on. And Theo was getting very annoyed that I was dying every time and he had to save me all the time. But unfortunately, that video won't be coming out because the footage was basically corrupt.
You have to redo it.
But yeah, maybe that's something that we could do when this comes out, is actually co-op the DLC version of it.
I think so. I'd also quite like to just put you in it on solo, because I feel like you'll get an easy mode if I'm playing, because as you know, I'm amazing at games. So, and really modest.
It's not even a joke. That is, you're 100% true.
Oh man,
So, I'd like to just put you through that
how
in solo
far
and see
I
how
would
you go.
get. I don't even think I'd get
Wouldn't
past like one level.
No.
I honestly
I
don't
don't know.
think.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But something else that I found out really soon, or yesterday, in fact, was Midnight Fight Express. So this was kind of like an isometric cyberpunk Hotline Miami. And there's a demo for that on Steam, which I downloaded and checked out yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And oh my God, that is a cool game.
Yeah.
That is a fun, punchy game.
It looked very, very cool. It did stand out to me. Was this the one which was like created by like one developer and then pulled in a few extra people near the end or something?
I'm not sure. I could believe that it's made by one incredibly talented individual.
Yeah.
But that's not like a slight against it. I just think that everything about it, the style, it is dripping in style and cool.
And the music was awesome as well. Like it had like banging tunes and stuff that like really fitted the vibe of the game.
Yeah, so I don't have the best like gaming laptop or anything. I had to run it at all very, very low settings. But the one thing that did persist across like all the different like qualities is going to be the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the music was brilliant, and it really did like I can't wait to play some more of this when I'm able to. And we don't have to wait too long for it to come out. So it's actually out on the 23rd of August.
Nice.
So actually only a couple of months away. It's looking really polished. It's playing really well.
Yeah. Do we know how long that demo is?
No, I didn't finish it because my computer would not allow me to finish it.
Oh, no.
It allowed me to play a bit of it, and I was like, I'm looking forward to playing more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know exactly how long the demo is. I don't know how long the game is going to be.
Yeah.
But it looks definitely like, if you're into things like Hotline Miami and if you like synthwave music, then you're going to love this. You're going to have a great time.
Yeah,
nice.
Definitely something which I'd probably like to check out too.
Mm-hmm.
It did stand out. I was like, this is cool.
Give that a go, yeah.
So from one roaming brawler-like to another, the next game on our list was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Which looked just as frantic as Cuphead, if not more frantic.
There was so much going on.
It looked probably more frantic because they've now shown off the 6-player local or online co-op mode, which you don't typically get 6-player like co-op modes in these sorts of games. And it looks amazing. I love it. So the big reveal here was actually a new character who is actually my favorite character from Turtles, which is Casey Jones.
Ah, nice,
So for those of you who don't know who Casey Jones is, he's basically a friend of the Turtles. He's a human, but he always wears like a cool hockey mask. He's got like a golf bag full of like different sports memorabilia, sports equipment that he can go around like beating up people with.
We don't
and now we can play as him.
We don't recommend.
No. Don't
do that
to the Turtles.
Or Casey Jones. He's the only person allowed.
So we've now got, I think this is our full roster of characters. So we've got obviously the 4 Turtles, we've got Splinter, and we've got April O'Neil. So we've now, is that everybody? Maths?
Yeah.
Quick maths?
Yeah.
I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
It's going to be really exciting. That actually comes out next week. So we finally got a release date for it, and it's a week away. So
Which is
I
amazing.
like it when they do that. When it's like a really quick release.
Yeah.
Like, oh, good.
So fingers crossed it sticks the landing. It looks really promising at the moment.
It does look really cool.
Like a real like strong return to form for the Turtles games, and of course like original arcade Turtles is like one of the best games ever made.
And it's a major callback to people like us who obviously grew up with Turtles at a young age in that style and that sort of era. So it looks cool, looks frantic. Like, again, like we said, having 6 people on screen with all of the elements going everywhere was just like, again, what the heck is going on?
It's going to be fun.
So I'm going to be jumping in as Casey Jones, but who will you jump in as? Who will you be playing through this game as?
I don't know.
One of the turtles.
Yeah, one of the turtles.
Is it which one's the one like pizza? Is that Leonardo?
I mean,
Michelangelo. One of them likes it. I can never remember
how
the
many
turtles.
references has Hollie made about pizza today.
It is a pizza day.
It's very much a pizza podcast.
Yes.
It is. Maybe we should rename
Pizza and Joysticks.
We should rename the podcast. The Pizza, Popcorn, Joysticks Podcast.
Okay, that's the last pizza reference.
So another thing so I love pizza. I also love metal.
Oh, this looks so good.
So Metal Hellsinger, should I say, released a demo after Summer Games Fest. And basically, if you've played anything similar to BPM, which is bullets per minute, this is kind of like that, where it's like a rhythmic first-person shooter game.
Yeah.
I can only equate it to something very similar to, like, if you've ever seen like Tenacious D going into hell, it's kind of like that sort of.
It reminded me a bit of Doom Eternal.
It's very Doom Eternal in its aesthetics.
Yeah.
So the demo I played yesterday is wonderful. There's lots of like fiery demons coming at you. The music is insane.
Yeah.
We've got some like real like top tier metal artists in there. Matt Heafy from Trivium. We've got Serge Tankian from System of a Down.
Lamb of God.
And,
oh
my God. They got some such good ones.
So
and
good.
For us, we're obviously massively
game.
We love metal music. Obviously, this isn't going to appeal to people who are not particularly into the sort of the metal scene.
If you're into your Ed Sheerans and your Taylor Swifts, you may struggle.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, on PC, there's going to be mods for that.
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah, I am really
I quite liked the fact that your kind of, what do you even call it, like the crosshair of where you're going to be shooting had the kind of the scrolling, like the beat pattern coming in from the music. Which again emphasizes like the gun and the weaponry. I guess makes it more powerful when you're shooting.
Didn't they say it just gets like more frantic if you hit the beat?
Yeah,
I can't remember what they said about it.
You do more damage, and it's you get like scores as well. So it's got very like an arcadey, almost like a Guitar Hero.
Yeah, because I was going to say it had that guitar like almost scrolling Guitar Hero, but coming in sideways. Into your kind of
the way
crosshair.
that crosshair works is really good, and it's not the most difficult shooter from what I played. Admittedly, I played it on medium because I just wanted to kind of enjoy it and get into it. It wasn't too challenging, but it was good enough for me to really actually feel like I was experiencing it. Like I was still having to work hard to hit those beats and to line my shots up.
I feel like I'll be really bad.
You get into this sort of like mindset of like, I could take a shot now.
But I'll wait a split second or...
Waiting a split second to hit it on the beat then nets you a perfect. And you see these demons like exploding and flying away. What they didn't really show off in the trailer was that you actually get a sword as well. So you start the game with a sword.
Cool.
Or you start the trailer at least with a sword, and then you get a shotgun and a pistol. And from what I played, the weapons that they have on offer are really good. They feel really tactile. We're playing on PS5. It looks gorgeous and sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited by this. Looking forward to seeing more. I didn't want to play too much.
Yes.
So the demo was just the right length.
Just that tease.
And I just want to see and hear, I want to hear the other songs in it as well. And, it's when you get into the zone and when you do get that rhythm, it is really, really good.
Yeah.
So, really impressed with Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looks really good.
So another game that we had a demo of yesterday was not really a full game demo, but we had the boss creator, the boss factory for Saints Row. So this is basically the character creator suite for the new Saints Row, which is coming out in August. I played around with it a little bit yesterday, and I had the most fun looking at what other people have created. And there's so many options in this game for you to create exactly what you want. I was able to see like handsome Squidward. People have made versions of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
What?
People are making like Dr. Disrespect. Like
There looked like there was like a million options.
like, and more.
Yeah.
You know, like this game looks like you can play as whatever you want.
Yeah.
Basically, and I'm really impressed with the character creator. I do love a character creator. I like to just like mess around, get something that kind of resembles myself, but sometimes I also like to make like something that's just like totally out there and weird.
Yeah.
So this game's going to allow you to do that. Obviously, we've not had a chance to play this game yet. It's looking okay, and I'm hearing reports that it's going to be a bit like Saints Row 2, Saints Row 3 kind of thing. So that's good for the people who like those games. But the one really impressive thing that I've found with the character creator is that you can share your creations with other people. So you effectively can download, if someone's made an incredible version of like, I saw a Homer Simpson yesterday, you know, someone's made like a really cool, he's yellow, he's got a comb over, he's got a big beer belly, he looks like Homer Simpson, you know.
Amazing.
If someone else has made an incredible Homer Simpson, you can go and effectively download that and play your game as Homer Simpson.
That's cool.
That's
and I think
really
you
good.
get something like 15 slots for different bosses that you can play as. So you can effectively like search through a gallery, find the ones that speak to you and download them and play as them in Saints Row. So that was quite cool.
Makes it nice and like customizable, makes your game a little bit more sort of unique when you can fully customize it. But if you don't want to spend hours and hours creating it, being able to download other people's,
Yeah, I like that.
Similar to sort of Forza Horizon or something, you can download really cool, skins for the cars.
That other people have
That other
put the
people
effort
have put the
into.
effort in, because if I was to do it, you'd have like a number and some flames up the side. It wouldn't look cool.
Yeah.
Well, it would look cool, but other people are far more talented than
Yes.
than I am.
More patience, maybe.
Yeah.
Speaking of people with a lot of talent and patience, we have also got our last horror game of the show, which was Layers of Fear from Blooper Team. Now, I think it was worth mentioning this because it was the only game shown at the showcase that is in Unreal Engine 5. So while there are other games there that may end up being on Unreal Engine 5, this is the one that had a trailer and basically showed off what Unreal can do.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Blooper Team the last game was The Medium, which was kind of, it was middle of the road. It was very average. It was pretty medium. It's not just a clever name. So they showed footage from Layers of Fear. It looks very good. It looks very, very good in Unreal 5 to the point that I'm never going to play that.
Yeah, too good.
Like it's too good, it's too accurate, it's too scary for me.
Yeah, that's the problem
I
with
need
like
to
good
know
graphics.
it's a video game.
We need to find someone who's into horror games, because all three of us see a horror game and just instantly go, nope.
That's the problem with good graphics now. It's like, it's just too far. I don't want to play that.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to playing some more Resident Evil. So Resident Evil is kind of like my cutoff point, I think.
Hollie's like, nope.
Nah.
And one other game that I'm definitely not going to be playing is Gotham Knights. So this popped up again and continued to bore the bat pants off me. Its new trailer focused on Nightwing. Yeah, okay, cool. Like, if you're really into it, like Hollie, you were saying earlier, if you're not into like DC and Marvel, then this isn't going to be for you.
Yeah.
I love the Batman Arkham games. Mm-hmm. I was kind of hoping that we'd get another one of those. Instead, what we're getting from that team, from Rocksteady, is we're getting the Suicide Squad, which has obviously now been pushed to next year. And this Bat Family romp does nothing for me whatsoever. Like, I've watched the gameplay sequences over and over again, thinking something's going to click with me, and nothing does. And so another deep dive into that world was not really tickling anything for me.
No.
It didn't send up any bat
not
signals
me.
in my direction.
Love all the bat puns. But no, it didn't do anything for us. But I think I'm happy for the people out there who do care.
As soon as our game's out, Theo's just going to bat it away.
Oh dear, yeah.
Yes.
Just gonna go buy a copy and just throw it into the river.
Let's move on then.
Yeah. So moving on. So the last thing that we saw from Geoff Keighley was The Last of Us. So we got Neil Druckmann out on stage, and he was very complimentary of the new TV series.
Yes.
We saw one new screenshot of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey hiding behind a counter while. Actually, I think someone lightened up that picture on the internet, and you can see that there's actually a clicker over that counter. Which
I did think there was. I was wondering if that was what was behind there, and I thought, oh no.
That does look amazing, and obviously literally a single frame out of a TV series isn't selling it fully, but
it's going to be.
The intrigue is there.
Yeah. And of course, they brought out Troy Baker and Ashley to come in to say that they're in the show now as well, which
playing different characters, I assume.
Yeah,
playing different characters, and supposedly they do have meaty roles in it. It's not just like a little like wink to the camera. Oh, look, there's Joel and Ellie. You know, they're actually in it. And for me, I was a little bit disappointed we didn't see anything more of Naughty Dog's multiplayer game, but I have full faith in that studio to produce something amazing.
Yeah.
So we only just saw one piece of concept art for that game, and it's been 2 years since The Last of Us Part 2 came out. So it does feel like we could have maybe got a bit more, but I'm fully prepared to wait.
Are you going to jump into Part 1 when they release that one?
Well, yeah, I was just going to get onto this. That I feel really sorry for Neil and the team there, who about an hour before the show went live, The Last of Us Part 1 leaked via the official Sony shop, via PlayStation Direct. So yeah, they kind of made a few references to that leaking, and obviously it's been under wraps for a long time. There's been sort of like rumors and rumblings, but nothing really official. They've now shown off The Last of Us Part 1, which is a ground up remake of the original Last of Us, which came out in 2012 for the PS3.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, so they remastered it for the PS4, which I thought still looked amazing. And actually, when you see the side-by-side comparison shots,
it's
crazy. Yeah.
It's still, I mean, The Last of Us original and remaster still holds up very well.
Yeah,
they do.
But that remake is the next level. And they said that they want to bring it up to the standard of The Last of Us Part 2. But I now feel like this could leapfrog.
Yeah.
So are we now going to
remake
get a
Part
remaster? And it's just going to be like
never ending.
We're going to keep remaking these things until they're like on par with each other. It looks really good. It feels like it's going to be like there's not going to be too much of a difference in terms of like what we see in structure. But Neil Druckmann did mention that it's going to be like the gameplay is going to change to be more reflective of like The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, they're saying the AI and everything's been fully updated to Part 2's AI systems and stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, Part 2 is one of the best games I've ever played. It's just phenomenal. So I'm excited to see this. And like The Last of Us Part 1 is one of the best games I've ever played and has probably one of the best stories I've ever experienced. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of it. But thankfully, we don't have to wait very long because it's out in September.
That's not long.
So it's really not long.
No.
So people who are worried about, you know, PlayStation and Xbox not having a lot to play this year, we've still got some good games coming out later this year. So it's nice to see that we've got something, even if it is a remake and a retread.
Yeah.
But there's also, you know, it's 10 years plus since The Last of Us first came out. There's going to be a lot of people who have never played this before. So, you know, it's nice for them to be able to jump in and have like the best, well, hopefully the best version of this wonderful piece of art to run through.
Definitely.
So that was pretty much everything from Summer Games Fest. And the two other things that I wanted to just very briefly touch upon was how weird it was to see The Rock at this thing.
That was,
I didn't get it. I was kind of waiting for like a game related thing and didn't materialize. We got his energy drink instead or something.
We got a lot of his energy drink, but I think he was actually there to
a lot of
promote
his
Black
chest
Adam
as well.
Just turned up, just like
Dripping
shirtless
wet.
in the gym.
Yeah.
Just like, I just want to tell you that these are all my nicknames. Here's my energy drink, and here's my new movie.
I feel like
also enjoy gaming.
Yeah, I feel like they sent the wrong video in. Like that was meant to be for another stream.
I think what made it more awkward was they tried to play it like it was a live like FaceTime call, and it's like, oh, The Rock's joining us now. Oh, hey Dwayne, how's it going? Oh, hey, Geoff.
Yeah.
I love your Rock impersonation, James.
Yeah, now I've been practicing. But it was the like.
So I think that was a weird thing that popped up in the show, but another really positive thing that popped up in the show, and it might be one I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this just yet, but basically Game Pass is coming to Samsung TVs.
Yeah, I have seen a bit about this. Yeah, they're just going to get rid of the Xbox.
You know, like they're moving to this ecosystem where Game Pass is the big moneymaker for Microsoft. That has been moving towards that for a number of years.
Yeah.
now it's becoming more and more accessible for people to, if you only ever watch TV and you've never bought a games console, but you're now like, I could pay a couple of quid a month to play Game Pass, then, you can do it. There's an app on your TV.
I think it's a good idea.
Do you link your controller to your TV? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah. You just need to get the controller.
You can link any Bluetooth controller to it.
Oh, wow.
I suppose even if you wanted to play with a DualSense, you could potentially sit in your living room with a DualSense and play Forza Horizon.
I like
Sounds
it.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. So obviously, Summer Games Fest was the big thing that we were going to talk about today, but we also had a few games from Day of the Devs and Devolver that we're going to briefly touch upon. So Hollie, can you tell us about Time Flies?
Well, I was just going to say, I think Day of the Devs was more aimed for me because as soon as Time Flies came on, I was like, hello, what is this? I don't know what it is about it. I found it hysterical. I just want to play it.
For anyone who hasn't seen this, can you briefly give us a little overview?
Basically, I think you first select your country and it's based on the life expectancy of that country. So if you say, I think the example was in Switzerland, the life expectancy of a human is 84 years. So you have 84 seconds as a fly to explore this room. And that's basically... I don't know
if it was 84 seconds, but it was like the countdown.
Yeah, the countdown.
You have more time on countries which has a higher life expectancy.
Yeah, and then you have like a bucket list of random things to do. And they showed some examples. And I don't know why I found it so funny.
I just love the styling of it because it was literally like, imagine a white piece of paper with black drawn lines.
The fly is literally a dot with just two little lines for wings.
Of a room. There'd be like a sofa or there'd be a spinning fan. And there'd be a vinyl player.
And the music really added to it. Like when you die, the music just like cuts and it goes, you died. And it was just so simple, but...
Simple but effective.
So simple but so effective. And I don't know why it just caught my eye.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Goose Game.
In a way.
Not the styling, but you've got you have a piece of paper with 10 things you need to do. You don't really know how that corresponds with it. Like one of the things in what they showed us was Catch a Ride, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And you had to land on the vinyl player and go around on the vinyl player.
Yeah. I don't know.
Things like that, or like play music. And it was like you had to fly past the guitar and like strum the strings of the guitar. It was just so simple like that, but there'd be like a cup of water and if you landed it, you die. Like there'd be like
if you were an actual fly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was, and I think the styling just adds to it. It's so simple.
But effective, yeah.
Yeah, can't wait to play it. I literally went straight onto their website and it went onto the notify me when there's more information.
Yeah. Okay, let's just rattle through the last couple then.
Yeah, so the next one on the list was Planet of Lana, which we've seen it once before. It's developed by Wishfully, cinematic puzzle adventure game. Seems like a lighter version of Inside.
I really liked the look of this. This was the first time I'd seen it. It passed me by, actually. And I thought it was so cute. Like the little cat-like really thing, nice. Like that refused to get on the boat. Oh, that you had me at that bit.
It's like, I'm not getting on the boat. It's going to be wet.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're fully in the water, then I'll get on.
Yeah. No, I'm there for that game. Really yeah. I want to play that.
So that's coming later this year to Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
Another one that I've had my eye on for a little while is Choo-Choo Charles, which is, I was saying about I don't like horror games, but like...
I think that's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
All of the horror games they showed off
That's worse than Callisto Protocol. I mean, I couldn't handle it.
I mean, scary spiders, scary trains, and scary clowns.
I'm being chased, like absolutely not.
It had a really cool
a sentient
aesthetic.
Spider train with a murderous clown face hunts you down while you try to repair and upgrade your train to get to a point that you can fight it on like an island filled with psychopaths. Yes, please. Like, what is it about that combination? I'm arachnophobic. I do love trains. Like, I don't like clowns.
But I hate clowns.
All these sorts of things.
So will you play that, Theo?
I'm 100% down for Choo-Choo Charles.
Okay, we can watch you play it. That's fine.
Yeah, I can picture it just like being out in the woods, like gathering resources, and then you just hear like the choo-choo, and I'm just gonna be like, oh my god,
it's Charlie.
It just had this like ominous, scary presence. Just the whole aesthetic of it just seemed sketchy and
they did it so well.
It was it did look really, really cool, frantic.
And this is made by a single developer as well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm keen to see more.
They've got a different mind.
we've got 2 other games to go through. One that I think is possibly my favorite game of this weekend is The Plucky Squire.
That looked awesome.
That did look awesome.
This looks so good. It looks kind of like a top-down Zelda-esque game set in a storybook, but then you can escape from the storybook and play in like a 3D, almost like Pixar-style world. Picking up different weapons, jumping into art, and then going back into 2D. Like,
it kind of reminded me a little bit of sort of the Micro Machines type world.
Because you're miniature,
tiny miniature, like on a desk, like running around interacting with stuff. It had, to me, that's kind of what it.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a racing game, and it was like,
No, I really want to play this. Yeah, this looks so good. Yeah.
Animation in the 2D sections looks incredible. There's even like some Cuphead style, like bullet hell shooter section. So as you know, I'm going to love that.
Yep.
And that's coming to PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC next year. So we've still got a while to wait on that one. And the last game that you may or may not have seen is Skate Story.
Yes. This is so good as well. I went and watched the trailer because you mentioned about this, and I was like, don't think I've seen it. Looked amazing.
I'm there for that as well.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
So if you have missed this, Skate Story is a skater game where you play as a demon made of glass and pain, as the trailer says. And basically, the premise is that you're skating through the underworld, and your player demon has made a deal with the devil, and the devil will allow you to leave the underworld scot-free if you can skate to the moon and swallow it.
Amazing.
And that's pretty much all we know. But apart from, your demon is made of glass, and if you bail, you like shatter into like all these shards of glass. It's got a really cool soundtrack.
It was a mixture of,
looks really nice.
I'd say a mixture of Tony Hawk's and Skate. It had the flow of Skate, but it had the kind of Tony Hawk aspect to it as well. So
I just love how creative like the indie games are. Like I did feel like most of the showcase was quite familiar, like nothing too groundbreaking. And then we got to like the Day of the Devs bit, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are insane. Like some of their ideas is just so out there.
If all of these devs were at like EGX or Insomnia or something, I would wait and I would play all of them. I would play all of the indie games, indie section. They just all seemed appealing.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you there. I think the indie side of stuff, the Day of the Dev stuff, was just like, that was what was doing it for me.
Yeah.
Same, yeah.
So I'm excited to see more. I'm excited to see what Xbox bring tomorrow. So tomorrow night we've got the Xbox and Bethesda conference, and we will be talking about that on our next podcast, obviously. Yeah. But before we go, of course, we've got time for trivia time.
Oh, God.
No.
Quick fire round.
It should be hopefully a very easy one for you. So we've talked a lot about The Last of Us today.
Oh.
So in the original The Last of Us, which is now going to be referred to as Last of Us Part 1, which animal surprises Joel and Ellie in Salt Lake City? Is it A, a bear, D... Oh, sorry, D? Sorry.
We don't need any more confusing, Theo.
Language. So is it A, a bear, B, a deer, C, rhino, or D, a giraffe?
I was going to say a deer before you said any of the options, so I'm going to have to stick with a deer. B, a deer for me.
You're going with a
Can
deer.
I hear the options again, please?
Of course you can. You have A, a bear, B, a deer, C, a rhino, or D, a giraffe.
I'm going to go a bear, because I don't know.
Okay, so the scores remain the same. It's still 2-1 to James.
It's a rhino, isn't it?
The correct answer is a giraffe.
A giraffe?
So basically they enter into, very minor spoilers for a 10-year-old game here, but yeah, they enter into Salt Lake City and they are met by a group of giraffes, and it's amazing.
Yeah, we haven't played
no.
Last of Us Part 1.
But now when the remaster or remake, whatever they're calling it now, comes out, we probably will dive into it then.
Then we'll find the
giraffes.
giraffes.
We missed it when it originally came out.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. You'll be like, oh, I've heard about the giraffes.
We know that's coming now.
Okay, thanks, dear, for spoiling that.
I guarantee you'll forget about it by then.
Amazing. Well,
this has been fun.
Yeah, this has been fun. It's been our first kind of digital podcast. I think it's worked pretty well. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below, what your favorite games were from Summer Games Fest or Day of the Devs. Let us know if you like this styling of podcast, having Theo on a Zoom call. It means like if we go traveling or something, maybe we can keep podcasts going, even if we're not.
I don't want to be sick more
together.
often.
No, we don't want Theo to be ill.
Eat more oranges.
You get more vitamin C in your body. So yes, anyway, apart from all of that, thank you so much for watching, and
see you soon.
We'll see you soon.
For Xbox.
See you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.